men dream of ruling the world surrounded by allies, lovers, and admirers. Yet the higher one climbs, the more suffocating those attachments become. In this video, I will show you the cold truth, why the throne is always empty beside you, and why solitude is not weakness, but the final condition of power. Power is not a banquet, it is a fortress. From within its walls, you will find no warmth of companionship, only the silence of watchfulness. To govern, to control, to survive at the summit, one must stand apart, unseen yet seeing, untouched yet touching everything. The world belongs not to those who surround themselves with friends, but to those who master the art of strategic detachment. Remember, the closer people stand, the sharper their knives. Men believe they are never truly alone. They seek the comfort of allies, the loyalty of friends, the warmth of family. But when you examine history, not through the romantic lens of poets, but through the merciless eye of power, you will see a darker truth. Companionship is an illusion. Tell me, how many kings were betrayed not by their enemies, but by those closest to their throne? How many generals fell not to opposing armies, but to the whispers of their own counsel? And how many ordinary men discover too late that the people they trust most only remain loyal while the arrangement benefits them? You may think your allies care for you, but care is never free. Every smile, every gesture, every word of support is an investment, a calculated wager on what you can provide in return. Strip away your power, your usefulness, your influence. Watch how quickly devotion evaporates. Consider Julius Caesar. The Senate feigned loyalty, his allies declared eternal allegiance. Yet when his power grew too great, when his shadow eclipsed theirs, they turned on him. And who struck the most famous blow? Not an enemy, but Brutus, his friend. The lesson is not simply betrayal. It is that friendship in politics and power is never friendship at all. It is an agreement of convenience, as fragile as glass, shattered the moment it no longer serves. Look around you. In your own life, are you certain the people you call friends are truly friends? Or are they bound by need, by envy, by the benefits they draw from your presence? Do they seek your success, or merely shelter in the shade of it until it fades? Ask yourself, if tomorrow you lost everything, who would remain? Psychology confirms what rulers have long known: human loyalty is conditional. The bonds of companionship are rooted not in eternal affection, but in reciprocal exchange. You give status, wealth, protection, or simply validation. In return, they give allegiance. Remove the exchange, and the bond collapses. This is why the powerful are never deceived by affection. They accept companionship as one accepts a mask, useful in its moment, discarded when no longer needed. The wise ruler does not confuse the mask for the face beneath it. Do you? Think of your own workplace, your own circle. Notice how alliances shift. A colleague flatters you when your opinion carries weight, yet mocks you when you lose favor. A companion listens to your secrets, but retells them when it serves their standing. People remain close not because of who you are, but because of what you are worth. And worth, like power, fluctuates. Machiavelli once wrote that men are quick to forget the death of a father, yet slow to forget the loss of inheritance. What does this reveal? That even the deepest bonds, blood itself, are subordinated to interest. If blood is not sacred, what do you imagine friendship is? The illusion of companionship is dangerous because it seduces you into weakness. You begin to believe in the permanence of alliances. You begin to rely on others for strength. And when that strength is withdrawn, you collapse. This is why rulers who depend on friends for armies or security find themselves assassinated, exiled, or disgraced. They failed to see that alliances are made of sand, not stone. But let us be precise. This does not mean you must reject companions altogether. On the contrary, use them. Invite them close, as Caesar did. Allow them to believe in your bond, allow them to feel trusted. Because when a man feels trusted, his guard lowers, and his true motives reveal themselves. But you, unlike Caesar, must never confuse their loyalty for truth. You must stand ready to lose them the moment interests shift. Remember, this companionship is a currency. You are only as valuable to others as the benefit you provide. So long as you provide, they remain. When you stop, they vanish. Do not mistake their presence for love. It is rent paid daily in usefulness. This is why the powerful grow alone. They see through the illusion. They know that companionship is theater, that loyalty is temporary, that affection is always conditional. And once you see this truth, you cannot unsee it. Now the question is, will you have the strength to live by it? Can you bear to walk with eyes open, even if it means walking alone? Or will you cling to the illusion until it destroys you? The powerful never ask this question twice. They learn, often through blood, that allies are but shadows, faithful only until the sun moves. And so, we arrive at the next truth of power. If companionship is an illusion, what remains to shield the ruler from betrayal? Only one answer: isolation as armor. Isolation is not a prison, it is armor. Most men fear being alone, because solitude exposes them to themselves. But the powerful understand that only in solitude are they untouchable. Ask yourself, how often do you reveal too much simply because you crave company? How many of your weaknesses are known not by enemies, but by those you allowed too close? And how many of those weaknesses were later used against you? The truth is merciless. The more connections you have, the more vulnerabilities you expose. Every friendship is a potential betrayal. Every lover is a potential spy. Every confidant is a potential blackmailer. Look at the fate of Napoleon. Brilliant, calculating, feared across Europe. Yet in his final days, exiled and diminished, what truly crushed him? It was not merely the cannons of his enemies. It was the disloyalty of those he trusted, marshals who abandoned him when fortune turned. Had he kept his circle tighter, his armor stronger, betrayal would have found no gap to pierce. Isolation is misunderstood. It does not mean hiding in silence or retreating into obscurity. It means building walls around the parts of you that must never be touched. Your emotions, your fears, your strategies. These are not to be handed over in moments of weakness. They are to be guarded like a fortress. Psychologists call this emotional detachment, but in reality it is the discipline of rulers. To remain calm when others panic. To conceal anger when insulted. To reveal nothing when tested. This is isolation in practice. Not physical distance, but the armor of secrecy. Think of a chessboard. The king is the most fragile piece. Surrounded by allies, yes, but notice something: the king never exposes himself recklessly. He moves with caution, step by step, protected not by closeness but by distance. The powerful man is the same. He survives not by leaning on others, but by ensuring no one can strike where it matters most. You may ask, is this not loneliness? Perhaps. But loneliness is only torment to those who depend on others for validation. The ruler depends on no one. He draws strength from detachment, from standing apart, from not being a hostage to the affections of others. Because when you are hostage to affection, you are no longer master, you are prisoner. Think of modern life. How many reveal their inner world on social media, pouring out their thoughts, their feelings, their wounds? They believe it makes them seen, makes them loved. But in truth, it makes them vulnerable. It gives their rivals ammunition. And one day, those words, those confessions, will be twisted into chains. Isolation would have protected them. Even in personal relationships, the principle holds. Consider the man who reveals his deepest fears to his partner. When the bond is strong, it feels safe. But when the bond breaks, as bonds often do, those secrets become weapons. Isolation would have kept him secure. You see, armor is not about pushing everyone away. It is about controlling access. You can host a banquet, you can smile, you can charm. But within, you remain sealed. You reveal only what you choose, never what you feel. And because no one truly knows you, no one can ever fully hurt you. The strongest walls are built not of stone, but of silence. Your restraint. Your refusal to be open where openness can be exploited. History reveres the conqueror who is charming, but untouchable. Alexander inspired devotion, yet he never surrendered his command to sentiment. When necessary, he executed even close companions, proving that affection would never override control. That is isolation as armor, an invisible shield no blade can pierce. Now reflect in your own life. Where are the cracks in your armor? Who knows too much? Who could wound you with a single revelation? If you can name such a person, you are already vulnerable. So you must choose. Either continue walking exposed, hoping your companions remain loyal, or accept solitude as the necessary price of invincibility. The powerful accept it. They know that trust is temporary, but isolation is permanent, and in that permanence lies security. But security has a cost. For when you wall yourself off, you also sacrifice something that men crave: understanding. You will not be fully known, even by those closest to you. And this, too, though one far less deadly than betrayal. So decide, ruler of your own fate. Will you wear the armor of isolation and endure the silence it demands? Or will you cling to the illusion of connection until the knife of betrayal teaches you what solitude should have taught you sooner? The powerful never hesitate. They embrace isolation because only through it can they dominate without fear. And yet, there is another truth awaiting you. For even when one embraces solitude, there remains a greater burden: superiority itself. The kind of separation that no armor can protect you from. Power isolates not only by choice but by nature. For the higher you rise, the fewer men can stand beside you. Superiority creates distance, and that distance is both your shield and your curse. Ask yourself, can the lion ever truly walk among the sheep? He may dwell in the same field, but his very presence separates him. The herd does not love him, they fear him. And even when they pretend affection, beneath it lies resentment. So too with the superior man among lesser men. History gives us endless examples. Alexander the Great was worshipped as a god by his soldiers, yet in his final days, their admiration curdled into suspicion. How could they relate to a man who conquered worlds while they merely followed orders? Julius Caesar again marched at the front of his legions, ate at their fires, shared their struggles. But could they ever see him as one of them? Never, and that is why, in the Senate, surrounded by men who could not match him, he fell. Superiority breeds envy, and envy is the most relentless of enemies. You can bribe it, you can charm it, you can suppress it, but you can never extinguish it. This is the burden of superiority. The more exceptional you are, the more you stand apart. Not because you wish to, but because others cannot follow. Your mind sees farther. Your will pushes harder. Your spirit climbs where theirs trembles. And they, unable to match your ascent, begin to despise you for it. Think carefully about your own life. Have you ever noticed how people grow uneasy when you excel beyond their limits? When your success shines too brightly, their smiles tighten, their compliments lose sincerity. They laugh with you, but behind the laughter lies something else. A quiet bitterness. Do you imagine this bitterness will remain harmless forever? Or will it one day manifest as sabotage, resistance, betrayal? Psychology has a name for this: status anxiety. People compare themselves endlessly, and when confronted with someone clearly above them, they experience not admiration, but humiliation, and humiliation always seeks revenge. This is why the superior must be cautious, not only of enemies, but of friends, allies, even family, because superiority offends without words, without action, simply by existing. Consider Galileo. He did not raise an army, he did not seize a throne. He merely revealed a truth greater than the Church's teaching. And for this, he was condemned. Why? Because his superiority of mind threatened the fragile pride of institutions built on lesser knowledge. Your brilliance alone can be your crime. Now reflect. How many times have you silenced yourself, dimmed your light, concealed your abilities, just to remain accepted? You do this because instinct warns you. It whispers that too much superiority will isolate you, and that isolation will make you vulnerable. But hear me clearly, hiding your strength is no solution. It spares you envy for a time, but it robs you of the very essence that sets you apart. The powerful do not shrink themselves to please the herd. They accept the loneliness their superiority demands. This burden is heavy, yes, but it is also the mark of destiny. Few are capable of greatness, and fewer still are willing to endure the solitude it creates. Do you think a hawk envies the pigeons as it soars above them, Or does it know that the sky belongs only to those who dare to fly alone? The lesson is clear: your superiority will never make you loved. At best, it will make you tolerated. At worst, it will make you hated. So do not seek affection from those beneath you. Seek instead the advantage that your height provides. See farther, act faster, strike with clarity while they stumble in shadows. For the burden of superiority may isolate you, but it also grants you vision that others cannot possess. And yet, vision is useless if you allow others to approach too closely. If they can touch you, they can harm you. If they can know you, they can exploit you. So the superior must master another discipline, not only standing above, but keeping others at a deliberate distance. This, then, is the next truth: control through distance. The art of remaining near enough to command, but far enough to remain untouchable. Closeness is intoxicating. It lures you with warmth, with trust, with the illusion of safety. But closeness is also dangerous. For when others stand too near, they see your flaws, and once they see your flaws, your power begins to decay. Control is not maintained by embracing people. It is maintained by distance. Not the distance of abandonment, but the distance of mastery. You must remain accessible enough to inspire, yet unreachable enough to command. Have you ever noticed how a candle glows brighter in the dark than in the sun? The less exposure, the greater the mystique. So it is with rulers, leaders, and superior men. The less you are seen, the more you are felt. The less you are touched, the more you are desired. Distance magnifies power. History reveals this truth again and again. Take Louis IV, the Sun King of France. He transformed distance into ritual. Every movement of his day, the waking, the dressing, the eating, was choreographed, witnessed by courtiers who longed for his attention. He gave them glimpses, never intimacy. They worshipped him not because they knew him, but because they could not reach him. It was distance, not closeness, that made him a god in their eyes. Contrast this with rulers who blurred the line between leader and companion. Roman emperors who drank too freely with their soldiers, kings who confided too openly in their favorites. They eroded the barrier that preserved their authority. Soon they were mocked, then despised, then deposed. Familiarity does not breed loyalty, it breeds contempt. Consider your own life. When you are always available, always present, always speaking, do people respect you more? Or do they begin to take you for granted? Do they begin to test boundaries, to push against you, to lose the awe they once felt? Distance prevents this. It reminds others that access is privilege, not right. Psychology explains why. The principle of scarcity dictates that what is less available becomes more valuable. When your time, your presence, your words are rationed, they acquire weight. People listen more intently. They cling more tightly. They fear losing what they cannot easily have. Think of leaders in modern corporations. The CEO who is seen in every meeting, who mingles constantly with employees, loses authority. His presence becomes ordinary. But the CEO who appears rarely, who speaks sparingly, who commands the stage only when necessary, his words echo. They are remembered, dissected, repeated. Why? Because they are scarce. Because he is distant. This does not mean coldness. Do not mistake distance for neglect. A master does not abandon his followers. He controls them through calculated appearances. You must offer just enough closeness to ignite loyalty, but never enough to erode reverence. Like the sun, you warm from afar. Come too close, and you burn. Ask yourself, who in your life have you allowed too much access? Who knows your daily rhythms, your moods, your weaknesses? These are the ones most capable of controlling you because distance has collapsed. Rebuild it. Pull back. Let silence speak for you. Let absence create demand. Great manipulators understand this instinctively. They withdraw strategically, forcing others to chase them. A ruler who is rarely seen becomes the subject of imagination. And imagination is more powerful than reality. People project greatness onto what they cannot fully grasp. They invent myths to explain what they do not know. You become larger than life not by showing everything, but by revealing almost nothing. Even in personal relationships, the lesson applies. The partner who is endlessly available loses allure. The friend who clings loses respect. But the one who remains slightly out of reach commands attention, desire, even obsession. Distance manipulates the mind more effectively than closeness ever can. The powerful live by this paradox. They are seen enough to lead, but distant enough to remain feared. They give enough to inspire, but withhold enough to maintain control. They allow nearness, but never intimacy, because intimacy dismantles the very walls that protect authority. Now consider the danger of forgetting this law. Imagine revealing too much, lowering your guard, letting others too far into your inner world. One day their familiarity will sharpen into contempt. They will speak your name with less weight, challenge you without fear, strip away the aura that once shielded you. And once lost, that aura can never be rebuilt. So learn from kings, from generals, from leaders who endured. They ruled not because they embraced all, but because they remained untouchable. The most powerful presence is not the one that surrounds, but the one that hovers just beyond reach. But remember, distance alone is not enough. You must also know how to use it, to observe without revealing, to influence without being seen, to control the game while appearing absent from it. This is the art of the silent watcher. Power does not always belong to the loudest voice in the room. Often it belongs to the one who says nothing, yet observes everything. This is the advantage of the silent watcher, to influence without exposing, to direct without seeming to move at all. Ask yourself, when you speak too much, what happens? You reveal your thoughts. You betray your intentions. You expose your weaknesses. But when you remain silent, others reveal themselves. They expose their ambitions, their fears, their desires, while you risk nothing. In politics, in war, in everyday life, the man who watches silently holds the knife without ever showing the blade. His advantage is not force, it is knowledge. And knowledge, when applied correctly, dominates all. Consider the Medici of Florence. For decades, they controlled the city not by standing at the forefront, but by watching from the shadows, placing their influence through bankers, patrons, and silent alliances. They did not need to shout. They needed only to observe, to calculate, to wait. Their enemies revealed themselves, while the Medici simply listened. Or think of Cardinal Richelieu in France. He was rarely the loudest man in the court, but he was always the most dangerous. While nobles plotted openly, Richelieu listened, noted, and quietly maneuvered pieces across the board until the kingdom bent to his will. His silence was not emptiness. It was strategy. Why is silence so powerful? Psychology provides the answer. When you remain silent, others feel compelled to fill the void. They speak more than they intend. They justify themselves. They confess. They try to read you, and in doing so, they expose themselves. This is the paradox: the less you give. Think about the dynamics in your own life. At work, notice how quickly colleagues reveal their insecurities in a meeting when faced with your silence. In personal conversations, notice how people spill secrets simply because you nod, listen, and refrain from speaking. Silence draws information out of others like a magnet. It gives you the upper hand without a single word. Now consider its second function, mystique. When you say little, others begin to imagine what you are thinking. And imagination is always more powerful than truth. They may assume you are calculating, judging, or plotting, even if you are merely watching. Their own uncertainty becomes your weapon. For nothing is more unsettling than the unreadable man. Have you ever noticed how the quiet figure in a room commands more respect than the one who dominates conversation? It is because silence projects control. It suggests you are not desperate for validation. It suggests you are confident enough to let others expose themselves while you remain untouched. And in a world where most people cannot control their tongues, the one who does appears extraordinary. History punishes those who talk too much. Consider the countless conspirators who revealed their plots through careless words. Think of leaders who boasted of victories before they were won, only to be humiliated. The silent watcher makes no such mistake. He waits, he learns. He strikes only when the blow cannot miss, but do not mistake silence for passivity. It is an active weapon. a tool sharpened by patience and precision. To watch silently is not to withdraw, it is to prepare. You are gathering ammunition, you are studying patterns, you are positioning yourself to act when others are blind. Imagine two men in negotiation. One speaks constantly, justifying every demand. The other sits back, nodding, offering few words. Which one holds more power? The talker spends his strength trying to convince. The silent watcher forces the other to over-explain, to concede ground, to fear what is left unsaid. In the end, the silent one wins by simply refusing to play the same game. Now reflect, how often do you rush to fill silence in your own life? How often do you reveal too much simply to escape discomfort? This is weakness. Learn instead to embrace silence as a weapon. Let others grow uneasy. Let them expose themselves while you remain armored by restraint. The advantage of the silent watcher is twofold. He knows more than anyone else, and he appears stronger than anyone else. Not because he is invincible, but because no one can read his mind. And when no one can read you, no one can control you. But understand this, the advantage of silence comes with a price. For as you watch the world, you remain apart from it. Your role is not to belong, but to observe. And this detachment deepens your isolation. It sets you further from others, until they no longer see you as one of them, but as something other, something untouchable. And what does untouchability bring? It brings power, yes, but also loneliness. The kind of loneliness reserved for those who rule above the herd. Which brings us to the final truth, the inevitable loneliness of power, the burden that no armor, no silence, no strategy can ever erase. Power is never taken by force alone. It is stolen quietly, in the shadows of perception. The greatest control is not when people obey your commands, but when they believe they are acting by their own will. You plant ideas, you shape choices, you guide emotions, and they never see your hand. This is the essence of invisible rule. To dominate without appearing dominant, to conquer without drawing a sword, to enslave without chains. Ask yourself, what is more terrifying? A tyrant who threatens you openly, or a master who governs your very thoughts while smiling at your face? If you understand this, you already stand apart from the crowd. But wisdom unused is weakness, so sharpen it, practice it. Turn insight into weapon. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment your thoughts below. How would you control without being seen? Subscribe for more ruthless strategies. And share this with those bold enough to hear truth, but blind enough never to use it against you.